I'll seek you out, flay you alive.
Hey guys, Pogo here, and welcome to the next episode of JavaFX 101. In this episode, we're going to get a little introduction to components, and we're going to learn how to use the text component. So the way that JavaFX 101 works, as well as Swing and many other graphics libraries like these, is that they have a bunch of different classes that represent different components, and they all extend a common class so that they can all be classified as components. Now in JavaFX 1, there is the node class, and that represents a node that can be displayed, and anything that you could possibly see, be it an image or text or a button or a checkbox or a drop-down menu, those all extend from nodes so that they are classified as nodes, and they can, they have their different methods and stuff. So the node that we're going to start with is the text node. This is the equivalent, if you know Swing, of the J label, but there are the main difference between the J label and text is that the J label was in charge of both images and text, but in JavaFX, text is only in charge of text, and there's a separate image view that's in charge of images. So to make a text, we go ahead and say text, and we'll call it text, is equal to new text, and you can use the constructor, you can use the default constructor, or you can use the string constructor, and we can make it say hello world. So make sure that you import javafx.scene.text.text. That's the correct one. And now you have text. If you take a look at it, you'll notice that text, where's the class header? Text extends shape, which then extends node. And this node class is the class that represents a node in JavaFX. So let's go ahead and head back over here. So within text, you can take a look and see that there are a bunch of different methods. There are different properties for the various things that are associated with the text, and then there are other methods as well. Some particular ones include the setFont method, which you can, supply a font. To do a font, I'll quickly show you. You type font.font, and then you have all these different constructors, but we can go ahead and use the most in-depth one. So first you give the font name, which we'll use sans serif. That's, a good default font. Font weight, you can, choose how bold you want it, or light. We're going to go with normal. The font posture, that's just italic or regular, and then the size of the font. Let's make it 16. So we can change the font like this, but you'll notice that in Swing there were methods like set foreground, or for setting the color, but there's no method like that in here, and that's because JavaFX works with CSS. So you can actually, instead of, using code to define the information, you define it in a CSS or a cascading style sheets document, and then it will automatically pull that information. Now, if you don't want to specify it in a document, and I will show you in a future video how to use CSS with this, but if you go ahead and use the, what was the method? It is set, and it's not property, but it's something like that. So there's all these set on for the different events, but there is a method set style, and here you can set a style, in CSS. So for this, we can say, I might be wrong. I usually use IntelliJ, which tells me, but I think it's -fx color red, semicolon. Let me just check on that, because I'm not sure if that's correct. It's actually, I think, -fx-foreground-color, and then red, and, put the semicolon there. So don't really worry about that. It's just CSS. We're basically defining a style, which is you know, the effects, and then the foreground color, which we're setting to be red. And that should work, I hope. Don't worry about that. We will get into CSS in future videos and how to do that. Now, if we want to actually add this to the pane, we want to do pane, and this is a little bit weird. There's no add method in here to add it, but you want to do pane.getChildren, which returns an observable list of type node, and then you want to call add, and then here we can add text. Instead of doing pane.add_text, it's pane.getChildren.add_text, and that's a little bit strange, but that is just how it is done. So let's go ahead and run it and see if it'll work with everything that we did. Okay. So it looks like there's a little, I don't know, speck of pixel up there, but it doesn't seem to be working correctly. Let me try making the font larger and see if that... So that does have an effect. It looks like it's just being rendered off the screen. So let's try making it resizable, and then maybe we can... No. Okay, so... let's just try taking that out, and... yeah, so it appears that the text is being rendered a little bit at the top, and we might be able to solve that by using something else instead of a pane. So let's just try using a VBox. Don't worry about this part, but this should hopefully make it work. Okay, so there we go. It actually did. Now, it did not do the red color, so I'll quickly check and make sure I'm doing that right. Don't worry about this VBox thing, but basically in Swing, for those of you who know Swing, there were layout managers, so you could control how things were laid out, if they were laid out in a grid, or vertical, or horizontal, and in this case, instead, you have the different classes. So there's a pane, but for the grid layout, there's a grid pane. For the box layout, there's a VBox for vertical and HBox for horizontal, and then there are other ones. So instead of using the standard pane, which is really more of a superclass, gotta plug this in, which is really more of a superclass, I'm using a subclass, which is VBox. And I will go into all the different types of panes in a video. Let me just quickly check on this text color. Alright, so I was actually a little bit off on my CSS. I think you can actually just do -fx-fill, and there we go, it did fill it. But the other thing that I checked really quickly is that you can also just call set fill right here. It takes in a paint, but you can just use a color. Make sure that you use the JavaFX.scene.paint.color and not java.awt.color. But if you use that, it'll have the exact same effect. So that's probably just easier. And if I run this, then you'll notice that it does fill it with red. And then obviously with set fill taking a paint instead of a color, you could do things like a gradient or other cool text effects, which are yet another thing that sets this apart from Swing. So that's all for this video. We learned, the basics of the text effect, or sorry, the text node, how to change a few properties, how to use it, and then of course how to add nodes to a pane. So that should get you set up to work with the text node, and then in the next few videos we're going to go through all of the other important nodes that JavaFX has for us, and then it'll accumulate into a little project where we make a small GUI that serves some purpose other than just displaying components. So as always, subscribe if you want to see more. Comment with what you want to learn and maybe what you want to do with JavaFX, like what applications do you plan on making, and maybe I could be of any help there, maybe even making it in an episode or showing a particular thing that you need to know in order to make it. That would always be cool. And if you like this video, click the like button. I'll see you guys soon with some more coding videos. Bye for now.